All right, folks, it is Monday night. It is time for live Q&A. And as always, if you're new here, we answer all of your questions about drones. So leave them in the comments. We have Tom today behind the scene back there who is filtering through all the questions. We have Ethan behind the controls back there. And then I think we have Ben and Bo in the office over there taking a look at stuff as well. So yeah, good stuff. I see quite a few people already in here. We do this every Monday, most Mondays when we're not traveling. We're not going to be traveling for a while. I think our next travel is going to be Oshkosh in June, which is in Wisconsin. That's a big airplane air show that we're going to be at. So kind of exciting. I'm going to be at the LIDA conference in Utah. That's coming up in May. I don't remember the exact days. May, yeah, early May. But yeah, otherwise, no travel for us. So I apologize. I'm going to have to cough a couple times because I'm just coming back from being sick over the weekend. That was not fun. So that lingering cough, which is always fun. All right, let's say hi to a bunch of folks. Thorold Inspired is here. Number one, again, we have Alexander Blankenship, Yellow Rose Drones, Travis Cheney, Dave DeVore. We have Curtis Warren, Robert Droner. We have our good old friend Sparky. We have Verde Valley Video. Jake Pogorelak is here. I think that's a new name. I don't think I've seen that one before. Northern Drone Guy. We have Old Deadeye, Stinker 337, Preston Newsom, Hike and Fly, Hungarian Drone Pilot, awesome, from Maryland. Our own Tom is here. And who else? Johnny Gordon is here. Don M, Curtis Hayes, Steve A. Lens Capture is here. What's going on, man? We have JJ Buckhart. We have Jason Williams, retired fire chief, practicing photography. Glenn Gill. We have Jerry King, Cascade Drone Services. A lot of folks. Damn. OK Boomer is here. Hassad. We have First Medic. Jake. Our good old friend Vic is here from Moss Photography. Sergio de la Garza. Gus 450R. Who else? Off Axis. We have, Patrick. Cool. All right. We have a bunch of folks here. And Lens Capture says, looking forward to seeing you May 5th. Yeah, look forward to seeing you guys. I know we get a bit of a group coming up in Prescott to visit. Excited about this. So, okay. All right. Let's go to the questions, and then we can go from there. Travis says, what do you think of drones being sold on places like Temu, comparing them to the ones sold on Amazon? You know, I don't know that it's necessarily about the place where they're sold rather than what the drone actually is. There's a lot of cheap drones, and when I mean cheap, I don't mean it in a good way. Not just affordable. They're cheap. They're built cheap. They fly twice and then they break. Not a great investment from what we've seen. And so I would say stay away from probably anything Temu in general. I don't know that Temu has a whole lot of high quality object, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. Verde Valley Video says, thoughts on optimal time of day and altitude to do a search for a missing cat using the Mavic 2 Enterprise, searching for a neighbor here in Tucson, standard desert terrain, likely using a Black Hot palette. Good question. So I would say more than likely not in the middle of the day when it's pretty hot out there. I don't know cat's body temperature, but I'm going to guess it's probably in the 90s, close to ours. And so you would want the terrain to be colder. I know Tucson in some areas can get colder at night. So I would recommend, right when the sun goes down or near that, when the temperatures start to drop and the ground is not nearly as hot, that's when I would recommend getting to it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, or early in the morning as well. The idea is you want that cat body temperature to kind of pop out of the rest of the terrain outside. Northern Drone Guy says, thank you for showing me how to use Lance. Love it. I have done several flights now and plan to do more. Awesome. Great to hear that. Jake says, has writing to a politician ever actually accomplished anything, like even once? You'd be surprised, actually. So I used to kind of think along the same line, I don't have the greatest opinion of politicians, although that's a generalization. I don't think all of them are necessarily all that bad, but I think a lot of them are not that great. Let's put it this way. But we have recently, and I don't want to mention the names because I don't have their approval, but we have talked to certain offices that have told us that they get the messages when we do campaigns with the DAA, for example, the Drone Advocacy Alliance, and we tell people, hey, go talk to your representative. And eventually they get all these messages, and they get swamped sometimes on that one issue. Because think about it, okay? You have a proposed rule, and in most cases, especially if it's drone related, I think the general public doesn't really care all that much. So the general public is, and if it's a rule that's going to hurt us being the drone community, the majority of people are not going to send an email and say, oh yeah, that's a great rule, go ahead and do that. I think the general population doesn't care as much as we think they care about drones. And so when we, the community, go out and say, hey, this is a really bad idea, you probably shouldn't be doing this, then what happens is that the politician and their offices notice and they see those things. And so as a result, there has been changes, there have been actions taken to remove rules over time because of the pushback from the community. So I would say, yes, it does have an effect, especially when it's people after people after people. So keep doing that, folks. There's a reason grassroots efforts are so strong, is because over time, I think it gets the message across. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but that's kind of that's. I think it's important to know that. Another thing that I want to say, some of you, if you've been around long enough, around 2019, I don't remember what time. No, 2019. The FAA had a notice of proposed rulemaking for the for remote ID, and we ended up with 50-some thousand comments in the system, and believe it or not, it didn't come out perfect, but the FAA did listen and modified quite a few things. One of those things was network remote ID, which was a proposed way to comply with remote ID. People were up in arms, myself included, and mentioned in our response to the NPRM that this wasn't a viable solution because it created kind of a pay-to-play system. And so as a result, they changed things in the final ruling. Like I said, it wasn't perfect, but it was far better than what was originally proposed. So keep making comments, especially when we have 50,000 comments. It shows that the community actually cares. So next, where I'm at. Ben, our own Ben, says Post-Flight is live. Post-Flight is the extended news update that we post in the premium community. So make sure that you go and check that out if you are a member. And if you're not a member, consider becoming a member. There's a ton of great content in the premium community. I would recommend you go check it out. Are new drone prices accurately reflected on Amazon, or will a tariff be added to these prices? Good question. On Amazon, well, so it depends on where it ships from. But my guess is that somebody has them already here in the warehouse and that they're getting shipped from the United States, in which case the price should reflect already the tariffs. I think I mentioned last week, if you heard me, and maybe that's why you're asking, we had purchased an object from China, and then it came in, and then we had to pay close to 100% extra on that item to the who was it? UPS? I think it was UPS directly to take into account the tariff. And we had received something right before that. That had been in the US for a while, but was waiting to be shipped by the local shipment company because it was pretty big. And that didn't get a tariff because it came into the country before the tariff went into effect. So if the item gets directly to you before getting received by somebody else from the country of origin, and if that country of origin, let's say China, has a tariff in place, then you will have to pay for that additional thing. I'll give you another example. I don't know what the tariff is for France right now, but my parents live in France, and if they send me, I'd say they send me a drone or something pretty expensive via the mail, and they had to declare what it was, then when I receive it, I'm the first person receiving it in the country, I would have to pay the tariff on that item that they sent me over here. So hope that makes sense. Okay. Preston says, who can I legally share my personal recreational photos and videos from my DJI 3? What's up? Getting in trouble from the FAA saying to remove the footage, or will be consequences, they told me. Ooh, okay. So you... the rules, recreational flight versus Part 107, are all about the intent of the flight at the time that you do the flight. So if your intent is to gather footage for somebody else, whether you're getting paid or not, to like a business, for example, or church or something, then the intent is no longer recreational. The intent is for you to go and record that footage for them. So that is no longer recreational. That falls under Part 107. So in your case, you're sharing your photos, you create recreational photos. If you go up to take photos for fun and then you come back and share them with people, there is no issue there. That's a recreational flight. So yeah, intent of the flight. Curtis says, I found out today when I called my local DJI reseller that DJI has stopped selling to the US but is handling support from Canada. My O3 Pro Air unit won't bind to my Goggle 3 anymore. Interesting. So something happened last week. DJI updated their website, and it looks like there are some models that are no longer available in the United States. I think the Matrice 4 was one of them. It doesn't mean that they're not never going to sell it here. It just meant that they were updating the website as a result of the tariffs to find out how this was going to affect, well, their business in general. So I'm sure they're going to come up with something, I don't know, this week or next week, I'm not sure, soon. And update the website and then start to sell these again at the price where it's going to make sense economically for them. You know, if they're getting slapped 100% tariff on entrance, then contrary to some popular belief, you, the customer, are likely going to pay for it, just like we paid for that 100% tariff when it came in to our door. So DJI is not going to eat 100% tariff, I can tell you that. So you will likely see the price of drones go up, which means that as a result, also the price of other things is going to go up, including the used drone market, because people are going to turn into the used drone market. There's going to be more demand, and therefore prices are going to go up. Just the same thing with cars, the car market, quite frankly. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Going back to your question, Curtis, I'm sorry. You said my O4 Pro unit won't bind to my Google 3 goggles. Yeah, it sounds like you're going to have to follow what DJI is doing, and that if they're doing support from Canada, which I find interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that's a recent change, or I don't know why they would do that specifically. I'm not sure. Interesting. Glengill says, excuse me, is there best practice for cleaning or clearing my mini SD card after shoot? My Mini 4 prop stopped recording videos and stills. Yeah, just format it inside of the drone. That's what I would recommend for clearing up the card. Doc Holiday 888 says, lost drone in a tree, any retrieval ideas? Yeah, well, depends on the tree. Can you hire someone to climb it? Can you fly another drone with a hook underneath it to kind of dislodge it? Can you throw rocks at it? I'm not sure that's a good idea. But yeah, I would say either try to use another drone to get it out? Or, yeah, good question. Not sure. Rancid Bin says, since a registered drone must display the appropriate FAA identification number, if that number is missing, is that drone still legally registered? Not necessarily. So the registration number comes from the FAA website, the FAA Drone Zone. So I'm not sure of the details of your question, but if you find a drone, for example, and it doesn't have a registration number on it, it doesn't mean that it's not registered. It just means that potentially this person hasn't put the number on it. It could also mean that it's not registered. There's no way to find a registration number. There's no database available to the public with that. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Not sure what else to add, but yes, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Practicing photography says, do you have to have a reason to get lens? Nope. Can I just get it to practice? Yeah, absolutely. Nope. No reason specifically. Andrew says, thoughts on potential Congress laws bring ruling to the states. Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on that. Terrible idea. That's really what sums it best. We actually just talked about this in post-flight this morning with Ben. And the idea of giving anything away to the states to control as far as airspace is concerned, I think is a recipe for disaster. As a manned aircraft pilot, I can tell you that I never want to have to deal with the states when I fly my airplane in the first 200 feet on takeoff. What does that even look like where I'm at an uncontrolled airport and I take off and I have to follow state law until 200 feet and then I don't after that? What even would those state laws be? Are you ready to pay for airspace access? Because as soon as you give it to the highest bidder, you know what the states are going to do. They're going to sell it to the highest bidder, and then you're going to have to pay for airspace access, which is a terrible, terrible idea. Then are you ready for millions of individual rules? What if Prescott, Arizona here wants to create a rule and Phoenix wants to create a different rule, and then I go to Utah and I go fly in Utah, and now there's another set of rule, and I go from one village to another city, and then all of a sudden it's a different set of rules. How are you ever going to navigate this? And then on top of that, what about they were talking about needing approval from local landowners to fly over that land. So you're a real estate photographer and you're going to be doing photos of a house, and you have to do an orbit around that house, which means you're going to fly over maybe 3 or 4 different houses. So you're going to have to go to each person to get their approval. What if they're not home? What if it's a vacant home? Who do you go to? How do you know where the landowner property lines end? And meaning that all of a sudden you can't enter that airspace. How do you know that? And then who is going to enforce all of this? The states? Are they going to have cops go out there? Cops already have way too many things to do that is difficult enough for their job. Are they going to have to now go chase people that are flying drones for doing photo shoots? What is this even accomplishing? Like, what is the goal of giving the first 200 feet to the state? Like, how does that make anything better? So anyways, yeah, I've got a lot of ideas about this, but none of them lead to, oh yeah, this is something that we should be doing. It's definitely a terrible, terrible idea. Okay, next up, any freight forwarding experts? Yeah, can we skirt tariff on Chinese drones by using a freight forwarder from another country? I had that same question earlier, actually. I'll give you an example. A while back, and this is Mini 2 time, we bought a Mini 2 from Japan, and we used, and Japan doesn't, for some reason, there's some rules in Japan to ship stuff to other countries. It's kind of a pain. I don't know if it was because it had a battery in it or there was something weird. So we had to use a third party that would purchase the stuff and then send it to us afterwards. So they bought it on our behalf and then sent it to us. Now, it was still from Japan, so it still came from Japan. And actually, the the company name was from Japan. But yeah, I think there are ways to do it. The question is, I guess you have to find the country in the world that has the lowest amount of tariff as of today. That might change tomorrow, and then create some sort of relationship with them to get your stuff shipped to them so they can come here. I don't know. It's definitely forward thinking. Not to make a bad joke about freight forwarding, but yeah, it's forward thinking, and I don't know how it works, but if somebody has the answer, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff that we purchase all over the world, not just China. Preston says, will the FAA ever email you for an investigation? Yeah, the FAA actually will email you for investigation. So they have access to your registration information, including your email. And so they will also call you potentially. But yes, you can absolutely get an email. The way that you verify is if it's coming from a FAA.gov email. You can also find pretty much every person that works for the FAA. You can verify that they work with the FAA by looking on the FAA website. So I recommend doing that as well. But yes. So-called inspector, I talked to him and he seemed not to know the rules, saying that I could take my Part 107 test online and couldn't fly over parking or park cars. Yeah, that's... Well... doesn't mean he doesn't work for the FAA. Unfortunately, there are some inspectors that are not super knowledgeable about stuff, on drones especially. So I would, well, you can, Preston, you can send us that email if you feel comfortable doing that. contact@pilotinstitute.com. We're happy to take a look at it. We're happy to forward it to a few folks at the FAA that we know, especially if the inspector is incorrect, so that it can get, so that person can get trained. I mean, yeah. Drone Eagle says, we are supposed to have our registration paper for our drone with us on our mission. Yes. Is that something that we can print from registering the drone on the FAA website? Yes, absolutely. When you register, you're going to get a little card, a registration card. I recommend printing it, laminating it if you want, and then putting it inside of your drone bag, and then that way you have access to it. Now remember, it's valid for 5 years, for 3 years, $5 for 3 years, and so just kind of update it as you go, and then you can also have a digital version if you want to. The FAA will accept that. Would you buy a Mini 4 Pro and you own an Air, if you own an Air 3S, I'm guessing? Good question. As a backup, probably. Mini 4 Pro is close enough to the Air 3S. As a secondary drone, probably not. I don't know. I have a hard time. I know people want to buy drones because they're cool. But I have and I know people looking for excuses to buy drones, but unless you need a backup because you're doing jobs and then you want it in there, I don't know that you would need a Mini 4 Pro. It doesn't do anything different than the Air 3S other than being a backup. Anything better than the Air 3S, I should say. If flying recreationally, what is the maximum speed that you can fly your drone? There's no speed limit on... Oh, that's Ray Kelly. What's up, Ray? There's no speed limit on the recreational side of things, unless I missed it in one of the, what do you call it? The CBOs, community-based organization. I had a brain fart. Unless it's in one of the community-based organizations' rules, then there's no speed limit that I know of. Old Man Droning says, is city, state, local government, if city, state, local government passes a law in conflict of FAA airspace rules, do the citizens have resources, a law restricting drone from flying over property or city parks? So yeah, they cannot restrict you from flying. So what you can do is, I know Vic is in the comments. I don't know if he's answered that already. Yeah. You can contact, there's an office, and the name of it escapes me right now, that put out a a document that highlights what municipalities are allowed to do. I don't have a link. I don't think Tom has a link. Jason usually has the link. But I'm sure Vic can find it somewhere while we're talking. But that document is a good document to provide to the local government that is trying to put these laws in place, and basically tell them, hey, listen, you can't do that. It's right there. So, yeah. Okay. That would be my recommendation. You can also talk to Vic. I recommend, if you're a DSPA, Drone Service Provider Alliance member, Vic and his team can provide help with some of these things. I said if you're a member, I'm sure Vic will help you even if you're not a member. But Vic and his team, they do this and help the community. So supporting them is important. That's why I mentioned that. Can a Part 107 PIC pilot in command choose to mitigate risk when flying at night at 25-foot AGL next to people by not using a light, as the chance of interfering with other aircraft is less chance of someone throwing at it? Oh, good question. So there is something in the regulation that says that you can, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure 107.29 maybe, that says that the remote pilot in command has the ability to reduce the intensity of the anti-collision light. I don't think it allows you to turn it off unless it's a safety issue. But yeah, I wouldn't consider that necessarily a safety issue, but you should be able to diminish it. The thing is, there's no lights that I know out there that have the ability to diminish the strobe light. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of an event that happened when we were in Texas a couple of weeks ago at an event, and one of the companies out there that manufactures drone, that is an American-based company that everybody loves to hate at the moment, was doing a demo, and they didn't have strobe lights on. And when I mentioned it, when I asked if they had a waiver, all of a sudden they said, oh no, we can turn those on, and then they turned them on. So I thought that was really funny. Anyways, Preston says, I was wondering about wetsuits for the DJI Air 3 on eBay being sold. Are they legit or not? So, good question. We tested a wetsuit years and years ago on the Mavic 2 Pro, and it actually worked really well. Now, it's not where you're going to be able to dip the drone in the water, but I would definitely have, and I have, fly that drone in rain, in the element, and know that it was pretty well protected. Downside to it, granted, this was excuse me, this was several years ago. The downside to that specific one was that it was glued onto the drone in itself, and so if you wanted to remove it, you had to remove all of the stuff, which was really well attached with 3M tape onto the drone. So yeah. John says FAA docs refers to sense and avoid regarding BV loss. Are there any drone capable of detecting all airborne vehicle nearby? No, that's the difficulty. So sense and avoid is it's called also DAA. Sometimes you'll see detect and avoid. That technology on small consumer drones is still very much non-existent. And think about what it takes, right? You have worst case scenario, right? Your drone is flying 40 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour. And then on the other side, you have a helicopter that's coming in at probably 100 miles an hour or close to it. So collision rate is 140 miles an hour. Now you need a device that has the ability to detect something that's coming, at a rate of 140 miles an hour. There's just no technology at the moment on small drones that is capable of doing that. Now, there are other ways to do it, using ADSB, potentially using some other technology, using radars, using ground technology that detects objects in the area, but there's a much more complex approach. So, yeah, sense and avoid is it's a great concept, but in reality, I don't think it's there just yet. For small drones, I will say. Ray Kelly says, Greg and Pilot Institute, thank you for sponsoring our 5th annual South Florida Drone Meetup. We had 125 pilots there. Yeah, happy to do that, Ray. Always happy to sponsor local events. We sponsored the one in Las Vegas as well, which was a great event. But yeah, one of these days I'll be able to attend when it's not during Sun and Fun. Tyler says, do you think drone deliveries are going to be popular? If you've watched the channel long enough, you know my reservations about drone delivery, mainly for delivering small products to people. I don't know that it's a viable option necessarily. For medical, I think it's a great application, but I think for everyday items, I don't think so. Sparky says, someone just shot my Inspire 2 down with a laser. Wait, what? Oh, I know what he's talking about. Wink, wink. Okay, next. Oren says, I need to register my Mavic Matrice 4T. I don't have that 107 certificate yet, but ASAP are my top priorities for the next few weeks. Should I fly under research? You cannot fly under research, or wait for Part 107, or register recreational. What I would recommend you do is you register it under Part 107. It doesn't mean that you have to operate under Part 107 necessarily. Under 107 rules, you have to fly under recreational rules, but the drone will be registered and it will be fine in this case. If you only have one drone and if it has its own registration number, then you'll be fine. So that's what I would recommend doing. But yes, you cannot fly under research. That's not really how it works. The research carve-out is very specific in the terms and not something that you can just claim I'm doing research at the moment. I have a Mini 4 and Air 3S, says Jeff, each with an RC2. I want to get a Mavic 4 when it comes out, but having 3 RC2s seems kind of redundant. What should I do? If you can buy the Mavic 4, I don't know that... Oh, well, we don't know yet if the Mavic 4 is going to be available as the drone only. We also don't know what controller it's going to be compatible with. So if it is compatible with the RC2 and if it is available to purchase without a remote controller, then I would say, yeah, just get that and then use one of the RC2s. Now, I don't have any information saying that it will or will not be compatible with the RC2, but we know how DJI is with new remote controllers and new drones. We never know how backward compatible they're going to be. James says, thanks for the FA stickers. I just got them. Awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. Preston says, can you explain to me the timer for 2.4, 5.8 gigahertz or the dual band one in mountainous terrain? Don't know that I understand the question. The dual, also which drone are you flying? Because it depends on the options that you're going to have available. Typically, your drone is going to be using... it's going to have both of them available, and typically is going to be using between the different bands as required, okay? One of them is going to go further than the other, 2.4 versus 5.8, and you don't really mess with that typically, okay? In some drones, like the Inspire 2 that Sparky mentioned earlier, you had the ability to manually switch between one or the other and even select different bands, but that's not really the case anymore on most of the prosumer drones available. So that's what I would say about that. DHL said its new temporary policy, which took effect on Monday, would apply to packages of over $800 sent from any foreign country to U.S. customers. The company said it will continue to ship business. So, I think you're talking about DHL saying that they will stop shipping some packages coming from some country. Okay, so over $800 is for anything electronics is not really much of a threshold. And then continue to ship to business. Well, hopefully a lot of you have LLCs available, and then that becomes a business. So when you ship something to yourself, if it says, is this a business address? You say, yes, it is. Okay, Boomer says, is there a quick quantitative way to ensure a drone gimbal is set perpendicular to a slope roof? Wait, is there a quick quantitative way to measure that a drone gimbal is set perpendicular to the slope roof without climbing the roof for a physical measurement of the angle? Yeah, I mean, I would take a look, maybe do a profile view of the roof, and you can use some software to do calculation of angles of roof, and then you'll have a good idea of where to put it. I saw that our friend Jared is in the chat. Maybe Jared has another recommendation. It doesn't necessarily have to always be exactly, I guess, parallel or perpendicular, whichever way you want to look at it, to the slope roof. But yes, if it's a few degrees off, I don't think it really matters all that much. Cascade Drone Services says, for anyone who has to take the recurrent test for their Part 107 for the first time, I just did it yesterday, 45 questions, very easy, multiple choice, general knowledge, no charts, diagram, or notems. Yeah, it's definitely simplified version of the exam. I actually just did mine yesterday as well. So, and I got 100 on the exam. Paul says, I just got a call from the FAA. Someone complained about my flying. NEO over protest. Okay, interesting. My video now has 1.7K views. I told him that it is Category 1 drone for operation over people. I mean, if you're Part 107 certified and you check all the boxes and you had airspace approval if one was needed, then there you go. What is Category 1? It has a parachute. Category 1 doesn't need a parachute. It needs to have prop guards or something to prevent lacerations from the props. It needs to be under 250 grams, and it needs to have remote ID. And that's it, really. I am possibly about to do a drone job for a friend's construction company. Is it mandatory for me to have insurance before I take the job, or just recommended? I mean, if your friend is not requiring insurance, then it is just recommended. That's up to you to look at the risk reward, right? What is the risk involved? What is the reward out of it? And is it worth doing without insurance? It's up to you. Jared confirmed it doesn't have to be perfect as far as the angle of the roof. Okay. Somebody says buffering. Sometimes my brain buffers. So if it looks like because sometimes what happens in my brain is that I think of the question you just asked, and then something else pop up and then just clouds my brain. And I have to think about that, get it out, and then think again, and then go back to the question. So my brain does weird stuff. I was looking at the DJI RTK3, which is the new unit, that 2 weeks ago it was about $1,800, and now it is $3,600. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes me wonder if they doubled the price on stuff they had in stock before the tariff. Well, some of these items, you have to think about how much stock do they really have, because I don't know how many of those RTK units they actually ship. Also, how many of these units, I don't know that how would they know when they start to run out and then to change the price? I don't know. I think it depends on a lot of different things. But my guess is that they ship, DJI themselves from their website ships everything from China in the first place, unless you're using a reseller, in which case they would have bought it for $1,800. And if they're selling it for $3,600, then something is wrong for sure. But yeah, double the price makes bad sense, unfortunately, because of the current tariffs. Do I really need a TSA background check for the 107 license? Yes, you do. If so, I can't find out how, as every search point for my background for TSA jobs only, anybody knows. You don't do anything. When you apply for the certificate, the TSA will do the background check without really telling you or asking you anything. They do their own research, and then that's it. Can you cancel a drone registration? Yes, you can, and renew under the same registration number. No, you cannot. I basically want to make both drone numbers match expiration. No, you will get, if you cancel the registration, you will get a new one assigned. Last Friday, you mentioned that the AMA was going to allow rec flyers to go above 400 feet AGL with a waiver. Do you think the AMA wants to attract more members with that waiver? I do not, actually. So let me give you my theory on this. And it's not a crockpot theory, tinfoil hat theory. It's the AMA has been in business a very long time, right? 50 plus years now. Most AMA members are going to be flying fixed wing aircraft, right? And quite a few of them fly really large aircraft. As a matter of fact, for many years, the AMA was able to fly above 400 feet without any problem because there were really no rules that prevented them from doing that. So think about like jet-powered model aircraft and the soaring aircraft that use thermals and all of that. All these aircraft fly at like 600 and 700 and 800 feet, and flying them under 400 feet is actually fairly dangerous. And so for years, the AMA and some of the local groups have complained that they can't safely operate their aircraft, remote aircraft, when they could do that in the past. And I think they have a point, quite frankly. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think the AMA, instead of going after just a 1 or 2 approval, which some sites had access to, they went with a more generic approval and said, hey, if Class E starts at 700 and Class E starts at 1,200 feet, what can we fly in that area? As long as it's restricted to a small zone, they have to have a NOTAM for that area that is issued, and yeah, you have it. So I don't think the AMA is looking to get multi-rotor pilots on board. I really don't. I really think multi-rotor operations are so different than fixed-wing operation that they just don't want to deal with it. And this is comments that I have seen at AMA fields that I've gone to, and that I have heard other people talk, whether we like it or not, right? This is not the point. But my guess is that they are really just trying to help their current operators operate at a safe altitude with much larger aircraft. That's that. And also keep in mind that they have to keep a line of sight. There's still line of sight requirements at all AMA fields, and they don't have a waiver for that, and I don't know that they want a waiver for that. Preston says, what boundaries does the trust certificate give you? Preston, I have a hard time with your questions, the way they're written. What boundaries does the trust certificate give you, does a remote pilot, and especially in the FAA's eyes, so to speak? Okay, the trust certificate, let's be clear on that. First off, it's not really a certificate. It's a certificate of completion of the trust test. So trust allows you to operate recreationally anywhere in the United States under 49 USC 44809, which is a set of rules that the FAA has put in place to circumvent Part 107 rules. Okay, so if you fly for recreational purposes, if you fly below 400 feet, if you fly in with approval in the airspace and within line of sight and blah blah blah, and if you've completed trust and if you follow CBO guidelines, then you qualify for that exemption and you can fly recreationally. So that's it. That's really, it's not a pilot certificate. It's not a remote pilot certificate. That's really all it is. It allows you to circumvent Part 107 rules if you meet those 8 or 9 requirements that the FAA mentions. That's it, really. Bitsbyte says, any thought on Category 2 or drone modified Mini 3-4 declarations of compliance for specific groups of serial numbers? Yeah, I saw that. So excuse me, not something that we reported necessarily, but that I have seen in a couple of places. We talked about it in the office, but there is a Category 2 approval that popped on the FAA website for a certain number of serial number, and it looks like some company went out and modified a bunch of Mini 3s and Mini 4s to be Category 2 compliant because they're not able to make them Category 1 compliant. And as of that, I think, I don't have any data for that, but I think that it was just a company that either did that for a customer or for themselves, and they just submitted them, and it's there's not a whole lot of detail available, unless I have missed the details. But yeah, yeah. So next, Lockout X says, if you had a Mini 4 Pro and were starting to do video work for people, what drone would you get next? Air 3S, or if it ever comes out, the Mavic 4. We haven't tested it, so I don't know fully, but I expect it to be freaking awesome because that's what DJI does. The mouse of tomorrow, today. Interesting. Two things. I got in. Sorry, I can't read the question. I get in allowing reasonable force against drone. Second Amendment with restricted flight altitudes. I don't know what that means. I mean, reasonable force against drones. Nobody is allowed to take down a drone from the air using a firearm, if that's what your question is. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Patrick Bull says, what are the largest areas of the Part 107 exam that we should study for? All of them. All of them, because the questions are randomized, and there is, in the Airman Certification Standard, there is a table that shows you the percentage of questions for each of the topics, and they're all fairly even. And I can tell you airspace and regulation and charts is going to be some of the hardest questions that people have a hard time with, but that's about it. But yeah, there's not just a specific number right there. What is the minimum dollar amount of liability insurance that you need for to fly commercially? That really depends on your customer. And so whatever your customer mandates, Vic, for example, I think he says he has a $5 million policy, which is fairly unusual for the average person. But 1 million is typically the minimum I think that you want to get. So sorry, I was reading. Vic says Florida is trying to put out a bill that allows people to remove drones from above their property. Yeah, it won't pass. Yeah, agreed. That was a while back. Yeah, and same in Texas. I know. Sudden35 says, do you feel that any drone company that is selling DJI drones right now may be gouging prices? I've asked for several quotes of in-stock drone right now, and they have gone up exponentially. It is possible. It is possible. I have a hard time believing that resellers right now have so little stock. But, let me take that back, actually. Maybe not. It has been difficult for resellers in the last 6 months or so to get any kind of DJI drone. So they may be on a pretty shoestring type of storage, and they may not have a whole lot of them, available. So it could be that they have to order them right now, and the tariff went in place a week or so ago. So they may have sold out of all their inventory already because people knew that this was coming. So yeah, I would say be careful with that. They may not be gouging. They may just not have the inventory. Preston says, by the way, I get the bundle for the 107. I scheduled my test. It's coming up on May 29. Awesome. Wish me luck. Your study material is excellent for understanding the material. Cool. Well, great to hear, Preston. That's awesome. You don't need luck. You've got all the training, so you'll do well. Third, why don't we just register all drones to stop all the questioning? Firearms are federal and all of them must be registered. Let's go FAA. I mean, most of the drones have to be registered. Only the drones flown recreationally under 250 grams don't have to be registered. Everything else has to be registered. So Anthony from Atort says, aloha, I have a job this Thursday for a trade show flying inside of a convention center. That's awesome. I'll have a certificate of insurance with 1 million rider with Skywatch, but do I need anything more? No, I mean, if that's what they're asking you for, I would say that's more than likely enough. When you get insurances for quote, this is general I would recommend that you ask what the cost is for $2 million. Now remember, insurance is protecting you, right? It's protecting you from liability in case something happens. Think about what is the worst absolute case scenario. I remember one of our FAA contact used to say it's a bus full of nuns that are driving kids, and then they crash into a nuclear power plant, right? And then what happens after that? So what is the worst possible scenario that can happen, and how much is it going to cost? And then whatever you think it's going to cost, multiply that by probably 5 or 6, and that gets you the right answer. So there you have it. I hate to talk in these terms, but a loss of life is about $1 million. Okay, in terms of liability. So if you think about, obviously, I'm not saying that drones are going to kill people, but think about the cost of replacing something in a convention center, and the convention center coming after you because you did something incorrectly. And so think about these things. That's what that total number, that's what it refers to. What is your insurance company going to cover? And remember also that your insurance company is not going to cover anything that you did that was against the law. So if you, for example, have a drone and you fly outside, not inside like Anthony is talking about, but you fly outside, you fly over people and you didn't have approval to fly over, you didn't have the equipment to fly over people, you crash into someone, you send them to the hospital, and then now they come after you. Well, the insurance company is going to say, you were not authorized to fly over people, so we're not going to cover that claim. And that's where you're in trouble. Okay? So think about it. No bus full of nuns in the convention center. That's good. That's good. That's always good. What are the random straight lines on the AirAware app now? I do not know. I haven't seen it. Sorry.
I just checked. I don't see them.
Don't see them? Okay. Interesting. Not sure. What is Jared saying? Jared says, all my fire alarms were lost in a boating accident. Sorry, last question. I know I've asked a lot. That's okay. That's what we're here for. I've got one more question. Do they make an infrared attachment you can put on a drone that is not built in already? Yeah, you can buy cameras that are going to record, infrared afterwards. It's going to be harder to get that footage back to you on the ground to see what you're looking at, but you can buy thermal cameras and mount them on your drone. It's not going to be the best quality. If you have a drone with interchangeable payload, then you would be able to change it, like a Matrice series, for example, and then you'd be able to put that on there. But otherwise, yeah, that would be my answer. Otherwise, no, it's pretty difficult to change the actual payload on the gimbal on the drone, unless you're flying a Phantom 1 or Phantom 2 from back in the days. Heather says, with AirAware, I'm getting a caution airspace with advisory. Can I fly in that airspace? Yeah, so DJI has changed. Oh, AirAware. I mean, what does it say? What does it say the airspace is? And have you looked at maybe a sectional chart to confirm what it actually is? And then you can always go on the FAA UAS facility map and also see what it says on there. Dean says, I bought your Part 107 course last year, have not necessarily studied yet, have no interest in flying commercial right now. Is there any reason I should complete the course at this time? Yeah, remember Part 107 is not necessarily just for flying commercially or to make money. It's to do anything that's not recreational. So it also gives you access to waivers. It gives you access to fly above grid numbers in controlled airspace. There's quite a few benefits to having the Part 107 that you don't get if you're flying recreationally. So I would, yeah.
What are rules to fly your drone in 2025 video?
Yeah.
That goes through the pros and cons.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we made a video that's flying, getting your Part 107 in 2025. We posted that earlier this year on the YouTube channel. So, and we talk about these things, the big benefits in there. Yeah. Lockout says, "Thank you. Now I can play that back to my wife so I can get the Air 3S." I know. I've many people have told me that actually over the years. You're like, yeah, I can show that to my spouse and then get the excuse to buy more drones or to do this or to do that. I'm glad I can be of help. It's like these services that people can pay for and then they get kidnapped for the day and then brought back at night. What kind of waivers do you have? We have a variety of waivers. We have a waiver to fly beyond visual line of sight. We actually have 2 waivers to fly beyond visual line of sight, 2 different conditions. We have waivers to fly over people. We are working on a bunch of waivers. We have a waiver to fly directly into a cloud at a very specific location in case we can time it right. It's been 3 years, but in case we can time it right so we can get prop icing on the drone and get it to fall down to the ground with a parachute. So that's one that we haven't been able to utilize because that location and the right conditions have never been in place just yet. We are working on a couple waivers. One of them is to fly inside of a thunderstorm to collect data and gather information because I think it would be cool. Not sure if we would be able to do that. So Tom is in charge of the question, so I don't know if I should read that one because I don't think it came from the chat. Ride in a helicopter for 1 hour or get a butterfly neck tattoo? Man, I would take the neck tattoo anytime, Tom. You know that. It's an internal joke that I don't like to... I refuse to fly in a helicopter. And Tom is a helicopter pilot, and he's been trying to get me in a helicopter to fly. And that's a no. And that should tell you, like, how much I really don't want to be in those helicopters. Is I would take a neck tattoo instead. I should come back next week with a temporary neck tattoo right here. Be funny. Preston says, do they consider a mountain a structure? No, that's a good question. Can I fly my Mini 4 Pro or DJI above 400 foot up the mountain? So a mountain is just a terrain. It's the ground. So you can fly 400 feet up on top of a mountain and follow the terrain. So yeah, that is not an issue at all. But yeah, a structure is a man-made obstacle. So like a cliff, for example, is not considered a structure, weirdly. Okay, well, 4:57. We are running out of questions. So maybe it is a good time. If you have any more questions, we got 2 minutes left. And put them in the comments. Otherwise... helicopter only for flight for life. Yeah, but even then, I don't know that I would trust it. I literally have a fear of flying in a helicopter. So, yeah, a tattoo of someone's neck that would definitely look weird. Is that what a neck tattoo is? Oh, butterfly neck tattoo. I mean, butterfly. Tom, there is worse things that you could put on your neck. You know, I'm just saying, as a tattoo. I love how my Part 107 card gets me into the pilot lounge at airports. The free drinks, such a perk. Best tip is when you get in the airplane, you just flash your remote pilot certificate to the pilot and you said, if you need any help during the flight, I'm available. So... Sorry, I had to say it. And don't call me Shirley. All right. Well, I think this might actually good one. Practicing photography says speed limit is 100 miles per hour. I thought that's a good thought. That's a part 107 rule, but under recreational, there is no speed limit, which is kind of nonsensical. But yeah. Okay. We'll end it here. It is 5 o'clock. I will see you guys on Friday for news updates, and then Friday afternoon for happy hour in the community. And then otherwise, I'll see you back here next Monday. And you guys enjoy. Maybe, you know what we should, no, it's questions. I wonder if we should do a quick tour of just the studio next week with this group on Monday. Yeah, I think that would be cool. You guys probably can see the new studio. And that's it. We'll see you. Fly safe. Don't be that guy. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Go tell the politicians to stop making stupid rules so we can talk about something else.